Hi everybody, we got a video to go over the new 1/18 scale Super Modified that we've released. So this car will come in the standard red, black, and clear versions, just like we've done in the past. One note, we're using the car we put on the box for this video. The car does not come with the stickers on it like this, but the stickers are in the box. The car will come with the chrome wheels on the car, and it will come with the standard tires. We will have the optional black wheels, and we will have the optional soft tires in both the black and the chrome wheels as well. This car obviously is very unique to the car itself, so everything like the chassis is very different. Obviously the body, tires, wheels, all that. A couple of the parts that are from other cars is one would be the front axle. This is the same front axle as the Midget, the Sprint car, and the EDM use. This will be the new 2.0 version, so it'll have the set screws on the kingpins and it'll have the new spindles. The shocks are all the same. The rear end, the center housings are the same, but the axle tubes on either side are different. Obviously, this car has a lot of offset, so the right tube is a lot longer than the left. Uses all the same radio gear, the same radio, speed control, receiver, servo, all that as all the other cars. So a couple items that we want to go over that we know people will have questions on right away. One being the front bumper, the wing. This has it has a molded front wing or front bumper, whichever you want to call it. It is very flexible. It's got a lot of flex to it, and we made it that way so that it can take some good impacts. The bumper is keyed into the front nose cone. You can see this nose cone section right here. It's two pieces of plastic, and it goes together in the middle. There's screws that hold it together. But this front bumper wing will key into this nose cone, and then there's 4 screws. Underneath those screws, there's bosses as well that key into this too. So it's very strong, so it's going to have a lot of rigidity this way. This whole front area is very beefed up, very strong, just to make sure that the car is very strong in that area, because it'll obviously take some pretty hard front impacts. The radius rods are all different on this car, obviously. We did make the radius rods a little bit bigger in diameter in this area right here, just because these are so long, and we went ahead and just carried that through the rest of the car. All the radius rods have got that little bit larger size to them for this car. The servo itself sits down inside of here. There are 2 screws down here that hold the servo mount. To get to the servo, you will have to take the front nose cone off. Just take these 2 screws here out. Take the 2 down here out. The front end will come, or the front nose cone will come off. You can take some of the chassis screws off here to help get the chassis apart. There is a pin that runs across here to help give it some extra strength in this area. So you'll have to take that pin out as well. The speed control will go in the back here on this little mount. We'll show you that on this car here. The switch is underneath there, right in this area here, and it's got this little tab to help protect that. The receiver will sit underneath this little bay right here. We'll show you that in a minute. And then the battery box is off to the left side here, and we'll show you that in a second on the other car. As you can see, again, like I said again, the chassis is completely unique. There's no other parts from any other cars on the chassis that fit the car, so it's all brand new as far as the chassis goes. To show you some of the where the electronics and stuff reside. Again, the speed controls in the back. The motor is the same motor as like the Sprint car uses. It's got the 10-tooth gear. Sprint car, the late model, all those. The rear axle itself is unique to this car, so there'll just be one rear axle. It'll have a new part number because of the offset. We did put a heat sink on this motor. You can see it down in here, right in there, that black piece right there. It's an extra added heatsink. Obviously, this car's got really big tires. It's got the same tread pattern as the other asphalt tires, so this car generates a lot of grip. So the motors tend to get a little bit warmer, especially on the high bite surfaces, so we added that heatsink as just a little extra insurance there. So the receiver itself, it sits underneath this little cover here. We did a little cover panel here so you can access the receiver. This way you don't have to take the body off. So the receiver sits down in there, and down inside of here there's a screw as well, and this receiver sits on this plate right here. You can see this right in there. So it sits on that plate, and that plate is removable. It's got a tab that keys into the frame or the cage right here, and then that screw you just take out, and then this whole receiver thing will come out. So if you never need to change the receiver, get into it, do whatever you need to do, you can take that out of there. As far as the battery sits over off to the left. It's got the same style of battery tray as the other cars. The battery is a little bit tight in there, obviously. We did put a groove down the side here of the chassis so you can tuck the plug in there. So if you're going to run the battery in the forward position, you can tuck that in there like that. Put the battery down in here, slide it down in there, and it's good to go. If you want the battery to be more in the front position, you can put the battery in, and then you can tuck the plug right inside of here, in the side right here, and you can tuck the wires right in there and then close up the door here. So a couple different options there if you want to run it forward or backwards. Really doesn't make that big of a difference on the handling, but depending on how you'd like to run it, what's easiest for you, you can do it either way. So one thing on the chassis itself that we want to point out is on these radius rods, these ball, you can see how much angle is on those radius rods. The ball studs that hold the chassis end of the radius rods are actually put in the chassis at an angle to help improve the travel or improve the throw of these radius rods. So if you do put a new chassis side on, or you are working on the car, when you install these ball studs, make sure you're installing these at an angle, not straight like this. If you put them in straight, you'll strip the holes out a little bit easier, but if you put them in at an angle, they're good. So these on the right side are like that. The left side, they're straight in just like the normal other cars. So it does have a new tie rod, or a new tie rod piece that goes across, so we will have an adjustable one of those. We will have the solid servo arm as an option part as well. The right front has an add-on piece here for the shock mount and the Panhard bar, and the same on the left here as well, left front shock mount. So if you break either one of those, you can get those. And then as far as the Nerf bars, pretty much the same as like the EDM, the Sprint Car, the Midget. If you want to take these off, just give them, they're going to be very tight in the chassis to hold them in there because it's just a friction fit. You just give them a little bit of a twist, just both ways like this. Just give them a little bit of a twist, and it just breaks that bond between the metal and the plastic, and you can just pull them straight out and then just push them back in. Same with the back. If you want to take that off, just give it a little bit of a twist side to side like this. It'll break that bond and you can pull it off. The front one actually bolts on the outside of the body with these 4 screws right here. So as far as changing the motor out, it's another area we wanted to cover. Obviously the chassis is very, very narrow. So the motors are a little bit harder to get in and out of this car. We did leave the left side open right over here, so you can access the 2 motor screws. You can just take this tire off and access the 2 motor screws. We also recommend taking the Panhard bar loose, so you can just pop that loose, and what it'll let you do is it'll let you shift the rear end over to the left. It'll give you a little bit more room to get the motor in and out of there. Now the first couple times you try to get the motor in and out of there, you'll struggle a little bit, but once you do it a couple times, you'll find the way to do that, and it'll just go right in and out. If you do have problems with it, you can always take this chassis screw right here off. And what it does allows you to kind of flex the chassis out a little bit, give you a little bit more room to get that out of there. So like I said, first couple of times you do it, maybe a little bit cumbersome, but after that you'll be just fine. To get to the speed control in the back, the tail tank, you just take this screw off here, and there's 2 screws on either side, 1 screw on either side of the tail. Just take those 2 off and the tail tank comes off. The body itself, it has a screw here, 1 there, the 2 up in the front, the 2 on this side, and then there's 1 here and 1 in the back. There are quite a few screws on the body. You don't have to take the body off very often. That's why we made everything kind of accessible from the bottom. The body is very unique on this car, and what it wanted to do is it kind of wanted to flare out when you put it on there after you cut it all out. So we added some extra screws just to make sure it keeps it nice and tight, and really keeps the look of the car really good. The other thing on the body is the engine, obviously, the fake engine or the faux engine on the side. That's one of the coolest things about the super modified cars is the engine over here. So we wanted to add quite a bit of detail to that to really, you know, let you kind of do what you want to do over on this side of the car right here. We put, it's got molded valve covers, it's got a molded air cleaner, molded injector stacks. The header on this side, is the same as the asphalt modified header, so it's the right side header off the asphalt modified. And then in the front here, we added there's a plate on the front of the motor, there's a oil pump, a water pump, and an oil filter here. So you can kind of, you know, paint this area up, do whatever you want to do there. We will actually have a engine detail kit as well. It'll have a little aluminum distributor, which will go in this little hole right in the back right here. It'll have, the kit will have 4 lines that'll mimic the injector lines, and there's a hole right underneath here that you can run those through, and then you can just poke some holes in the body and it'll mimic the injector lines. It'll also have some spark plug wires that'll come out of the little distributor here, and then we'll have some black pieces that'll mimic the like the oil lines, and there's holes through the oil pump right here, and there's holes in the top of here that'll go, and then we'll give you some rubber tubing as well that'll slide on the water pump pieces here, so you can do that. So we'll do another video that details that more and kind of show you how to do that if you want to have that, but we will have that as an option part. The wing itself, it's a 2-piece wing. It's very offset. You can see what we did is we put a little bit of a notch in the back of the mount right here, and then there's a dimple in the wing main plane. So if you ever take that off, or if you get the clear car and you have to put that on after you do the painting, you can just line those up and that'll position the wing just right for you. And then for the front, it just goes right against the front. So we can get that. The front just goes right against the front as it wraps around there. So that's how to get that off. To take the front axle out, it's a little bit tight as well. So you might have to take the right front spindle off, and you can slide it out the side. That's pretty easy to do. The steering link is down inside of here. When you have the body up, if you change the steering, you can kind of hook all that up before you put the body back on. It'll make it a lot easier. So that's about everything right now. We know people probably have a lot more questions on the car, especially after they get it and they start running it. If you do, just let us know, and you know, we can answer those questions for you as they come up. We'll do another video or something like that. Car's a lot of fun, and all the testing we did, it's really fun to drive. It's got a very unique look to it, so it should be a lot of fun. Should be a great class to add to the 1RC stuff. So if you have any questions on it, hit us up on our email on our website, or you can send us a message on our social media pages. And enjoy the car and have fun, and thanks for watching.